Hey guys, what is up? Welcome to today's video. Today we are going to be talking about the books that I read in the month of July and August, since it is now September. I just had a lot going on the last couple of months that I wasn't able to sit down and film anything other than TBR videos, but now that we are here in my new apartment and I do have bookshelves, which is so exciting. These are all of the books that I have read. This back here is my cart. Yes, my cart, and then this bookshelf over here, which I'm not sure you guys can see, but it is all of my unread books as well as the cart. So yeah, I'm excited to add more to this shelf because that's the whole goal of this, is to read my books instead of just collecting them, which I've been doing for too long. So let's go ahead and get started with my July reads. I finished 7 books in the month of July and 6 in the month of August. Some of the books do span the end of one month and into the other, but we just count it as I finished it in this month, and that's what counts. So the first book that I read, and I did do a couple of audiobooks, which I don't generally do a ton of audio because I like to actually physically read a book. Because I was moving and packing and unpacking, I did put a couple of audiobooks on my list, and the first one that I decided to listen to was My Next Breath by Jeremy Renner. I'll put a picture of that here. This was incredible. I don't usually rate memoirs unless they're like bomb, and this was so good. It wasn't a very long audiobook either. I believe if you have the actual physical copy, it's around 240-ish pages, and it was just so good. I mean, if you don't know Jeremy Renner, he is an actor and he plays Hawkeye in the Marvel superhero universe, the MCU, and the cinematic universe, sorry, that's what that stands for. And so he plays Hawkeye, and he was involved in an accident in Utah a couple of years ago, maybe 2022 or 23, I can't remember now. It's been 2 months since I've listened to the book, but basically he was hit by his own snowplow. It's like a cat. It's for anyway, it's this big machinery that's used for moving snow, and he was trying to save his nephew, which he did save his nephew, but he ended up getting hurt himself, and it was really horrific injuries. And the way he describes how he felt and just worrying about taking his next breath while he's there on the ice dying it was really eloquent, and it was heartbreaking, but it was also like a really good story of taking something that's terrible and turning it into something good. And I'm like crying thinking about it, which is crazy because it's just something that happened to someone, and it's just like an amazing human story. And I really, really enjoyed it. But yeah, if you don't want to hear the graphic things that happen, maybe don't listen to it. But it was he could see himself because his eye was not in his eye socket. That's how horrific these injuries were. And what he's turned it into, and the amazing things that he's doing with it now, is just, it's a really incredible human story. And I feel really, really lucky to have heard the story and gotten something from it. So that was the first book. I rated that 5 stars. If it's a memoir and I'm not jiving with it, I won't rate it. But this one, it just deserved it, so I did. I feel like rating someone's life is, kind of weird, but it was just an incredible story. He goes into his backstory and all of that too, and it's just a really good one. The next book I also rated 5 stars, which, you guys, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 4. Yeah, there's only 4. I actually colored in that circle a little bit too much, but I have 4 5 stars in the last 2 months, and I hadn't had one for 3 or 4 months before that. So fantastic reading choices by me. The next book that I read was something I had never heard of before I acquired this book on International or National Booksellers Day. It's back in April, and you end up getting a lot of ARCs and stuff if you go to all the independent bookstores and all of that stuff. So I ended up with this book, which is The Confessions of Franny Langton by Sarah Collins. This was an incredible book as well. This is a story, it is historical fiction, but I can't imagine that it's not based on true events. It goes over a Jamaican slave and her time on a plantation in Jamaica, but then it also follows her through when she came to England, and England didn't have slavery, so like technically she's not a slave, but she was still sold anyway, and all these things that happened to her, and like her life story. And the way that it goes through is that she is on trial for murder, for murdering her like mistress. Yeah, I believe it's her mistress. And yeah, it's like she's telling the story through like being in jail, being incarcerated for that. And this takes place in like this is like Queen Victoria, 1826. So it takes place during that time, and it's just an incredible story as well, because her story is probably different than like what we learn about in school. In America, if you're watching this overseas, we do learn about slavery, of course, and the abolition of slavery, but we don't hear about what actually happened to those people too often. And so this was really an eye-opening and incredible story of this woman and what she went through and how her life progressed, and it ended up affecting the things that she did to survive, and also not to survive. Like, I don't want to give away like the story or anything, it is fiction, but very incredible story, uplifting but also depressing. And this is just one I feel like I'd never heard of before I got it as an ARC. This was published back in 2019, May 2019. Highly recommend, especially if you are American. It has nothing to do with America, but like, we just don't hear stories like this. So it was really incredible and really impactful. The next book that I read was The Wedding People. I did this one on audio as well. I can't remember if this was on my 25 and no, this was my challenge book for July. So this was the most this was added to the most shelves in July of 2024. And so that's the list I've been like going off of and reading that book each month. That was the book for July, The Wedding People. I remember people like raving about The Wedding People. I thought it was fine. Like, it was good. I think I gave it 4 stars. It was good. It wasn't like the most incredible story, but it wasn't like anything insane, which is what I was like expecting, just like a great human story. And it was a good human story, but after reading Confessions of Franny Langton and listening to My Next Breath, maybe it didn't get a fair shot, but it was a good story. It's about a woman who is divorced, and COVID hits, and she decides she's going to unalive herself, but she wants to do it at a beautiful place that she had always wanted to go with her husband, basically. And she gets there and she meets all these people, because everyone in the hotel in Rhode Island is the people are all attending a wedding, okay? And so she meets all the people who are attending the wedding, and she forms friendships with them, and you know, it goes through her like going back and forth about whether she should unalive herself and what she should do with her life and all of that stuff. And as someone who has has depression, it doesn't go away. It was relatable to me. It's not exactly the way that I feel when I'm thinking about that kind of thing. But I don't think it's the same for everybody. So it was interesting to hear someone else's story, even though this is definitely fiction as well. But yeah, I thought it was a good story. It wasn't like the most incredible story. It's kind of in the middle of the pack for these. The next book that I read was a 25 and 25 book, and it was Lady Macbeth by Ava Reid. I've never read anything by Ava Reid. I just thought this cover was stunning. It was very beautiful. It came out in 2024. This was an adaptation, I guess, of the play Lady of Macbeth by Shakespeare. And I gave this one 3.5 stars. I found it really slow and kind of boring to begin with, but then it kind of picked up and it was better. I don't know. It was good, but it wasn't like, again, the most incredible book ever. I just thought the cover was beautiful, and it definitely looked kind of like something I would like. It kind of has like a fantasy element to it. But it's basically about Lady Macbeth's experience during Macbeth instead of Macbeth's experience during Macbeth. She does have a big role in that play, but yeah, it's just like her, kind of like the witches and like how of that, you know, goes through, and whether she has actual magical powers and like that kind of thing. I thought it was okay. It wasn't like the best book ever. It was better than some, but like not. I struggled to get through it, even though it's a pretty short book. It's like 100 and no, it's not 100. It's under 300 pages, and I struggled to get through it. Once I get to like the last 100, 150 pages, I can like through a book, but sometimes it takes me a bit to get there, and this is one that happened with. Then after that, we had another 5-star read, you guys. This is my book club book for the month of July. It is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This is a sci-fi dystopian, I guess I would say. It's about a man who is stolen from his life by himself, basically. It's a like parallel universe type of science fiction story where, you know, another copy of him from another universe comes and gets him, and it's just a different version of his life of what it could have been, and it kind of explores that, and it's just his love story with his wife and his kid, like throughout the story, and it was very like atmospheric as well, which I appreciated, because it explained like what other like worlds would be like, say if this happened, if this happened, if this happened, like very advanced worlds where there's nothing there anymore. And he gets to travel to all of these multiverses, which is pretty cool. I think it was really good. I thought it was a great read. And the best thing about this book was that it wasn't ridiculously long, because a concept like this could have been a 500-page book. And my book club never would have picked it if it was that. But because it was so digestible and very well written, it was good. It was great. I loved this book. It could have been way longer and had more detail, but I think that this length and this story was great. There is also a Apple show on TV that I want to watch with my boyfriend, but it's baseball season, so we don't really watch, baseball during we don't watch TV during baseball season. At least I don't. He does. I don't know. Okay, the next book that I finished was The Summer I Turned Pretty. This also has a TV show adaptation, and I had watched the first season of this when it like first came out, but I didn't read the books until now. I haven't finished it. I've read 1 and 2, but The Summer I Turned Pretty, I gave it 4 stars. It was like what I needed at the time. I had just read My Next Breath, The Confessions of Franny Langton, Dark Matter. These are all like pretty serious subject matter, even Lady Macbeth, and I just needed something cute and fluffy and easy to read to like get me to the next thing, like a nice filler, and it was the perfect book for that. It was cute, and it was different from the book, but it wasn't like so different. Like the show and the book are a little bit different, but they're not like, the concepts are the same, but the way things happen are different. So yeah, it was a good read. I really enjoyed it. And it was just kind of what I needed at the moment. It's YA, so it's very light and fluffy, and like, there's some serious issues that these kids deal with, but it's not like what I understand to be like Magnolia Parks or Releasing 10 or Binding 13 or whatever these more intense teenage stories are. I haven't read any of them. I'm not really interested in reading them, but maybe one day. Yeah, so I did enjoy The Summer I Turned Pretty, 4 stars. Not a lot to say about it. If you watch the show, I would recommend reading the book. It's good. I don't want to watch the last season until I read the 3rd book, so I'll be reading that at some point. I just don't know when. Okay, and then the last book that I read for the month of July was the worst book that I read all year. Unfortunately, this was a new release. Came out, I think, in March. I didn't know she's also written another book. I thought it was a debut. Oh no, yeah, March of 2025. So Retreat by Kristen Ritter. This was just not very good. Unfortunately, I think I gave it 2.5 stars, which is the lowest rating I've given anything this year. I think I have since given another book 2.5 stars. But it's supposed to be a mystery thriller. It was really predictable. It was really, the writing style was not very advanced. And I just like did not care about the characters. So I don't want to say too much about this because I'm not giving it a great review. It wasn't a very good book. And that stinks because I love Kristen Ritter as an actor. And I was like, oh, I'll love this because I will like it, but because I like her, but I didn't. Sorry. At least you know I'm not biased. So it's about a woman who is a con artist and like the biggest con she pulls off, and you know what happens after that. It kind of had a non-ending, kind of like another book that I read last year, which was annoying. So I just didn't really like it. Okay, moving on to August. I read 5 books, so that should be a little bit quicker. Oh, 6 books. The first book that I finished, and I'm so happy that I finally read it. It is A Court of Thorns and Roses. I finally read this book, you guys. And I was like going into it all pretentious, like, ooh, I'm not gonna like it. I've evolved past that. I don't know if you can see, but I have all of Throne of Glass on my shelf. So I've read all of those, but I was like, I've evolved past it. No, I loved it. I gave it 4.5 stars. It was really good. I know people say that the first book isn't that good and it's kind of boring. I'm like, no, I loved it. I thought it was great. It was a great time. It was a great time. And I'm really looking forward to reading the rest of the series. I have the next one right here, Court of Mist and Fury. I haven't obviously read it yet, but it's on my cart to be picked at some point. I would love to finish the series like maybe the first half of next year by then, or not finish, but like complete the ones that are out by then, because then there's a new one coming out next year, I believe. She said that she's written the first draft or something. So I am excited to continue with the series. I thought it was good. It's a romantic fantasy series, and knowing something of that happens in the future, because you really can't avoid spoilers for this book, at least like the one big spoiler, like relationship spoiler, you can't avoid it. And knowing that she doesn't end up with the same guy is like, huh. So it was interesting like reading it and then having her meet, because that's like going to be like very enemies to lovers, which I appreciate. So yeah, I finally read this. It was on my 25 and 25. We did a good job. I'm about halfway through those, with about 3.5 months left. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to finish them. I have moved all of my 25 and 25 books up to here. I also have audio and ebooks, but I put them here so that they're first in my mind when things come up for my TBR game. But yeah, I read it, I liked it. What can I say? The next book that I finished was The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. So completely different 180 kind of thing. I listened to this a lot on audio. I also did a lot of the women on audio when I listened to that, and I really liked it. I did like the women better. I felt like the story of the woman main character in that book was just a little stronger than the story of the sisters in this one. This is about 2 sisters in World War II and how they deal with what's happening. They're in France, and France, you know, the Nazi Germans take over France, and it's like what happens to them. There was a little twist that I was not quite expecting, which I appreciated. It again, historical fiction. I like historical fiction a lot. I do love Kristen Hanna. I rated this one 5 stars as well. Just the way it makes you feel, I have to give it 5 stars. Like that's kind of my like rating, is like, okay, the world building was good, the characters were good, this was good, that was good, this was good, but overall, it's a 5-star read. It's like one of those feelings. Now the women, which is right here, I did also rate 5 stars, which I did like this book better than this book, which, I mean, how do you even say that? Because it's like, they're both strong women history stories, which I like. I have Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna, which I have not read yet. I might pick this one up like next summer. I don't know if I'm ready for like, I've read a lot of serious books lately, and I'm not wanting to read more serious books right now. I just kind of want like some fantasies for the fall. But I thought this was incredible. Again, another 5-star read, which is saving me from my reading, because I'm like, what am I doing with my picks? What is going on here? But this was great. The next book that I finished was It's Not Summer Without You, which is the second It's Not the Summer I Turned Pretty book. And yeah, I really liked this one as well. I gave it 3 stars. It didn't give me that same like feeling, but I also think I read The Summer I Turned Pretty when I really needed a book like that. And this one, I really didn't need a book like that. So I'm hoping that the third one kind of does a little bit better for me. I know that there's like a lot of controversy online, whether Conrad or Jeremiah right now. I'm trying not to look at spoilers or watch the show, but I do really like the book series and I'll continue it. I'm using it for my trilogy for Herkyet, so I kind of have to. The next book that I finished was Network Effect, which is the 5th book in the Murderbot Diaries. I listened to the dramatized version on Audible for this, and I wish I didn't because it was a lot. And the voice of him in my head changed a little bit. Then of the main character, like changed in was not the same as this dramatized version. And the dramatized version just seemed like there was like so much action and so much like crazy. This is the book that I was like, okay, I'm gonna give 5 stars to this, but I didn't. I think I gave it 4. Oh, I gave it 4.5. It was close. There was just so much drama and so much, not drama, so much action in every single scene that I found it a little bit overwhelming. And I feel like that's maybe because I listened to the dramatized version. I've read the first books. I've listened to the first books. There's 4 novellas before this. It's a novella series, except for this one is a full-length novel. I think maybe the next one is like 300 pages. I'm not sure. But this one was like a full-length novel, and it was great. It was a good time. I love these books. I think they're really good. I gave it 4.5 stars, which is the highest rating of any book I've given them, but mostly because they're novellas, and 5 stars for a novella, I don't know. But I love the second one still the most. That was the one with Art, which is, he's like a ship that can talk or whatever. It's science fiction, but yeah, it's the Murderbot Diaries number 5. I really liked it. I would recommend I listen to audiobooks kind of while I'm doing other things, and I felt like I had to keep like rewinding to be like, wait, what just happened? Because it was very like, there wasn't any breaks in action, which is a good thing, but also like I could have used a little like destimulation between big scenes. I don't know if that makes sense. Okay, second to last, I read Remarkably Bright Creatures. This is by Shelby Van Pelt. This one was a book club book for the month of August. I gave this 3.5 stars. I feel like I had a lot of problems with it. Like overall, Marcellus, love Marcellus. Great character. The characters individually were very good, but there were things about them that didn't quite make sense. Like one of the main characters, there's not really a love story in this, it's more about family, he's just very inconsistent. Like he's supposed to be a genius, but then he does these like really boneheaded things, which I know that sometimes those things go together, but I just felt like they were a little too extreme on each side for them to be able to, make sense for the character. And that was like kind of a recurring theme within that book for me. I liked it. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. It wasn't my most favorite thing. I think Marcellus, the character of the octopus, really saved it for me. Basically, it's about these different people who come together in like a family setting, and there's 3 main point of view. So it's a like kind of 30-year-old man, an older woman named Tova, and an octopus named Marcellus. And I've seen like so many things about octopuses like escaping from their enclosures and stuff. They're supposed to be very, very smart creatures, which is great. And I like books that teach me things. Like I didn't know octopuses were so smart, like that kind of thing. So I thought it was good. It was a good book. But it wasn't like incredible, and definitely not my favorite book club book that we've picked, although also really cool cover. I really identify with Marcellus. Okay, so the last book that I read, thank God this video is getting really long. This is why I don't like to wait 2 months. But the last book that I read, and this was not on any TBR, but I was like, I want to read this, is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. This is the first book in her new duology. It is called The Stonewater Kingdom. She also wrote One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns, which is the Shepherd King duology. This was great. It was good. I think I gave it 4 stars. I know some other people have rated it like 5 stars. It didn't have that like it had a lot of the same like themes of romantasy in it, so it wasn't like anything new or exciting. However, the magic system was definitely something I've never seen before. The magic in this world is from objects, and you use the objects to get the power. And they all have like similar powers, and there's like gods and that kind of thing, and it's like a kingdom, and she's a diviner, so her role in like the world is to be like to have prophecies. So she like gets drowned basically, and while she's unconscious / dead, she dreams of like these different stone objects, and like whatever happens to them, and then she like makes the prophecy from that. So there is magic in the world and that kind of thing, which is cool, but there's some twists, and it's very interesting. And basically like she has to team up with a knight and the king to figure out why her fellow diviners are disappearing. And it's kind of obvious why it's happening throughout the book, so that wasn't like super obvious, but that's not really the point. So I liked this book. I'll definitely read the next one when it comes out. It's also a beautiful copy. I got the one from Amazon. I thought it might have sprayed edges, but it didn't have sprayed edges, but it does have really pretty end pages, and then the front of the book is also quite beautiful. So yeah, I liked this book. Definitely a good fantasy. I think this is a great like fall fantasy, like going into winter. There's gargoyles in it. It's kind of like spooky, but it's not spooky. So yeah, it's a good, fun read. I would recommend it. Okay, so that is everything that I read the last 2 months. It's kind of a lot. I read more on my Kindle than generally I do. For Herkyed, if you don't know what Herkyed is, I'll be doing an update video for that, and I'll explain it more, but it's the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. And this is part 2. I didn't do part 1, didn't know it existed until now, but one of the prompts is to, you get points based on like your reads and stuff. And so I asked my boy, one of the things you can get points for is reading by your least favorite means. So that's physical, audio, ebook. And I asked my boyfriend, I was like, I kind of like reading every single way. What's my least favorite? And he goes, ebook. So that's what we're saying is my least favorite way, even though I do like, I like listening to audiobooks. I love reading a physical book. I know that's not my least favorite means, but yeah, I thought it was good. It's fun. So you should check out Herkyed if you haven't. I'll link it down below, and then I'll also be uploading a like where my status is. It's kind of like this bingo board of all these really hard prompts that you have to do, and you have a year to do it. It's really fun, and it changes like what I would read, and it challenges like what I would normally read. So I really like that. But yeah, check out that video, and thank you so much for staying around and watching this video if you got to the end. Thank you so much, guys. I love you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.